The small coastal town of Millbrook hung like a watercolor painting against the grey English sky. Emma Thompson stood by the kitchen window, her hands deep in sudsy dishwater, watching raindrops race down the glass. At 28, life had already etched lines of worry across her forehead, telling stories of struggle that most would never understand. Jack, her 6-year-old son, sat at the worn wooden table, carefully coloring a picture of a superhero. His small fingers gripped the crayon, tongue peeking out in concentration. Emma smiled softly, remembering how her husband Michael had once sat in that same spot, before he disappeared 3 years ago, leaving nothing but unpaid bills and broken promises. Working 2 jobs was never part of her plan. Mornings began at CUS, the local seaside cafe, where she served steaming coffee and buttered toast to fishermen and local workers. Nights were spent cleaning offices in the industrial park, her slim frame moving silently between desks and computers. Her body ached, but her spirit remained unbroken. The tiny 2-bedroom apartment was a testament to her determination. Every corner spoke of careful budgeting, second-hand furniture, mended curtains, and carefully preserved memories. A small shelf held Jack's school photos and a single picture of her parents, who had passed away shortly after Jack was born. Money was always tight. Some weeks, choosing between heating and groceries felt like an impossible game of survival. Emma would carefully count every penny, making sure Jack never felt the weight of their financial struggles. She'd learned to make soup from almost nothing, to patch clothes instead of replacing them, to turn every challenge into a small victory. Jack was her everything. Despite the long hours and exhausting work, she made sure to read him a story every night to help with his homework, to listen to his endless chatter about school and friends. Her love was a protective shield, keeping him safe and hopeful. The town knew her story without her saying a word. The cafe owner, Mrs. Henderson, would sometimes slip an extra sandwich into Jack's lunchbox. The local librarian would keep special books aside for him, knowing Emma couldn't always afford new reading materials. At night, after Jack was asleep, Emma would sit by the window, looking out at the dark ocean. She would dream of something more, a better job, a chance to go back to school, a future where survival wasn't a daily battle. Her notebook was filled with business ideas, sketches of potential plans, hope written in pencil lines, and desperate dreams. Her phone rarely rang. Friends had slowly drifted away after Michael left, uncomfortable with her sudden single-parent status. Loneliness was a constant companion, sitting quietly in the corner of their small apartment, watching her navigate life's challenges. But Emma was not a woman who broke easily. Every morning, she would wake before sunrise, prepare Jack's lunch, iron his school clothes, and face the day with a determination that burned bright in her tired eyes. She believed deeply that her current circumstances were not her final destination. Jack represented everything good in her world. His laughter could transform their tiny apartment into a palace of joy. His innocent questions about the world reminded her that hope existed in the smallest moments. When he would look up at her and say, "Mommy, you're my hero," the entire universe would realign. The local community college had evening classes. Emma had been saving, coin by coin, hoping to one day take business management courses. Her dream was simple: to create a catering business that would give her and Jack financial stability. Every extra shift, every saved dollar brought her closer to that dream. As the rain continued outside, Emma finished washing dishes and helped Jack pack his school bag. Another day was beginning, another opportunity to prove that love, hard work, and unwavering hope could overcome any obstacle. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew with absolute certainty that she would fight for Jack. One day, one moment at a time. The end. The cafe buzzed with morning activity, steam rising from coffee cups and the clatter of plates creating a familiar symphony. Emma moved. Between tables, her movements practiced and efficient, balancing trays with the skill of a seasoned waitress. Her eyes looked tired but determined, a quiet strength hidden behind her gentle smile. Robert Worthington sat in his usual corner seat, a retired teacher with silver hair and kind eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the small coastal cafe. He watched Emma carefully, noticing how she managed to serve customers while keeping an eye on the clock, always aware of the time she needed to leave for her next job. One rainy Tuesday morning changed everything. Jack had been sick the night before, and Emma was struggling. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured coffee, exhaustion etched into every movement. Robert noticed a stack of school permission slips falling from her apron, Jack's homework peeking out from beneath. "Excuse me," Robert called softly, his voice gentle and warm. "Would you like some help organizing those papers?" Emma hesitated, years of independent survival making her initially defensive. But something in the old man's eyes spoke of kindness, not pity. She approached his table, carefully arranging the slips. "I'm a retired teacher," Robert explained, adjusting his glasses. "I noticed your son's homework looks a bit challenging. Over the next few weeks, an unexpected friendship began to take shape. Robert would visit the cafe, offering to help Jack with his studies during Emma's work hours. At first, she was cautious. Years of struggling alone had made her protective of her son and wary of strangers, but Jack took to Robert immediately. The old man had a way of making learning fun, transforming mathematics into exciting puzzles and reading into grand adventures. His patience was endless, his knowledge vast. He spoke about the world in ways that made Jack's eyes light up with wonder. Emma would find small notes from Robert, suggestions for Jack's education, gentle advice about affordable resources, kind words of encouragement. He understood their financial struggles without making her feel embarrassed. He knew the delicate balance of offering help without destroying dignity. One afternoon, Robert brought second-hand textbooks he'd collected over years of teaching. "These might be useful," he said casually, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Emma discovered books worth hundreds of pounds, carefully preserved and offered freely. The local community began to notice their unusual friendship. An elderly retired teacher and a young single mother, united by their love for a bright-eyed little boy. Jack started improving in school, his confidence growing with each lesson. Robert had no family of his own, no children, no grandchildren. In Emma and Jack, he found the family he'd always wanted but never had. His pension and savings became a quiet support system, not through direct financial gifts, but through thoughtful interventions. He helped Emma find night classes in business, management, even offering to babysit Jack during her studies. He knew education was her ticket to a better future. His connections in the local college helped her navigate scholarships and financial aid. Their friendship was an unexpected blessing. Emma learned to trust again, to believe that kindness still existed in the world. Jack found a grandfather figure who saw potential in him, who believed in his dreams. The cafe owner, Mrs. Henderson, would watch their interactions with a knowing smile. She had seen many stories unfold between these tables, but this one felt special, a connection that transcended age, circumstance, and initial barriers. As autumn turned to winter, their bond grew stronger. Robert became more than a friend. He became family. His wisdom, his quiet support, his unconditional love transformed Emma and Jack's world in ways they could never have imagined. Sometimes life's most precious gifts arrive unexpectedly, wrapped in the most ordinary moments. For Emma, that gift came in the form of an elderly teacher who saw beyond her struggles and believed in her potential. The end. The wind howled outside, matching the storm brewing inside Emma's heart. Winter had been particularly brutal this year, bringing unexpected challenges that threatened to crush her already fragile hope. Her old car, which had been her lifeline, suddenly died on a freezing morning, leaving her stranded with mounting repair costs. Jack's medical needs complicated everything. He had been diagnosed with a minor respiratory condition that required regular medication and checkups. Each prescription was a financial nightmare, stretching her already thin budget beyond breaking point. The local pharmacy had been understanding, but even their patience was wearing thin. Their landlord, Mr. Peterson, had been increasingly aggressive about the overdue rent. 3 months of partial payments had pushed his tolerance to the limit. "This is your final warning," he had said last week, his voice cold and unforgiving. The threat of eviction hung over them like a dark cloud. turning their home into a battlefield of survival. Emma's night-cleaning job at the industrial park had been reduced to fewer hours, cutting her already minimal income. Her shifts at the cafe remained constant, but tips were scarce during the winter months. Every penny counted, and now those pennies were disappearing faster than she could collect them. One particularly difficult evening, everything collapsed. Jack needed new winter boots, his current ones worn through at the soles. The car repair estimate was astronomical, nearly 2 months of her combined income. The electricity bill arrived, red-stamped and demanding immediate payment. Sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by bills and overdue notices, Emma broke. Tears she had held back for months came flooding out. Her shoulders shook with the weight of her struggles, the constant battle of keeping hope alive feeling suddenly impossible. Jack found her like that, crying silently, her face buried in her hands. At 6 years old, he was far more perceptive than any child should be. He wrapped his small arms around her, his touch more comforting than any words could be. "It's okay, Mommy," he whispered, his voice trembling. "We'll be okay." Those words pierced through her despair. Emma realized she was teaching Jack more than just survival. She was showing him resilience. But resilience felt exhausting. The constant fight against circumstances was wearing her down. Robert noticed the change immediately when she arrived at the cafe the next morning. Her usual strength seemed replaced by a fragile vulnerability. He watched her serve customers, her movements mechanical, her smile forced. During a quiet moment, he approached her. "Emma, what's happening?" The dam broke. She told him everything, the car, the medical bills, the potential eviction. Her words came out in a rush, a mixture of fear and frustration. Robert listened, his eyes filled with understanding and compassion. The community began to notice. Mrs. Henderson from the cafe started leaving extra food for Jack. The local mechanic, hearing about her car troubles, offered to look at it for a reduced rate. Small acts of kindness began to emerge, a collective response to her silent struggle. But kindness doesn't pay bills. Emma knew she needed a real solution, not just temporary relief. The business management classes Robert had helped her find suddenly felt like her only lifeline. If she could just complete her course, create a stable business, everything might change. Jack remained her beacon of hope. Despite their challenges, he remained curious, loving, unbroken by their circumstances. His school reports showed intelligence and potential, a reminder that their current situation was temporary. As night fell, Emma looked at her sleeping son. The bills were still there. The challenges remained unresolved, but something inside her refused to give up. She had survived. Worse, she would survive this. Her hand touched the business plan notebook Robert had helped her start. Dreams were written there. Not just survival, but actual progress, small ideas that could transform their life. The breaking point was not the end. It was a beginning. The end. The local community center bustled with energy on grant application. Emma stood nervously, her hands clutching a carefully prepared portfolio of her catering business plan. Robert sat in the front row, offering silent encouragement with a gentle nod. Her business idea was simple but promising, home-baked. Pastries that celebrated local English recipes. Years of cooking for Jack and experimenting in their small kitchen had taught her more than she realized. Each recipe told a story of her hometown, of family traditions, of survival. The grant committee listened carefully. Emma's presentation wasn't polished, it was honest. She spoke about her journey as a single mother, her dreams of creating something sustainable for her son. Her voice trembled initially, but grew stronger with each word. Jack watched from the side, wearing his best shirt, his eyes filled with hope. Robert had helped him prepare a small poster supporting his mother's dream, which hung quietly behind. The simple drawing showed a cafe with stick figures representing Emma and Jack, surrounded by colorful pastries. When the committee asked questions, Emma answered with remarkable clarity. Her night classes in business management had prepared her more than she knew. She understood costs, projections, and market potential. Her passion for baking transformed her nervousness into genuine enthusiasm. Mrs. Henderson from the cafe had become her unexpected mentor. She had taught Emma about local food regulations, helped her understand pricing, and provided critical feedback on her recipes. Her lemon drizzle cake had already become a local favorite among cafe regulars. The community's support was unexpected. Local farmers offered to supply ingredients at reduced rates. The hardware store owner provided advice on setting up a small commercial kitchen. People who had watched Emma struggle now saw her as a potential success story. Robert's connections proved invaluable. He introduced her to local business owners, helped her refine her business plan, and provided guidance that came from years of professional experience. His belief in her was unwavering, a steady light during her darkest moments. The grant application process was competitive. Hundreds of local entrepreneurs competed for limited funding. Emma knew the odds were against her, but something inside her refused to surrender. Each setback had prepared her for this moment. Weeks passed. Emma continued working her cafe and cleaning jobs, maintaining hope while waiting for the committee's decision. Jack would ask daily, "Did we get the grant, Mummy?" Her response remained consistent. "We're hopeful, sweetheart." Then came the letter. A thick envelope arrived, bearing the community center's official stamp. Emma's hands shook as she opened it, Jack watching with anticipation. Robert sat beside her, his presence a source of calm. They had won a partial grant, enough to start her small business. Not a complete solution, but a significant step forward. The committee was impressed by her determination, her clear vision, and her commitment to the local community. The initial funding would help her convert part of their apartment's kitchen into a small commercial space. She could purchase professional baking equipment, create a proper business registration, and start marketing her pastries more seriously. Jack's excitement was infectious. He drew pictures of their future cafe, imagining customers enjoying his mother's baking. His belief in her dreams was pure and unshakable, a child's understanding of potential that adults often lose. The local newspaper heard about her story. A small feature highlighted her journey, from struggling single mother to emerging local entrepreneur. The community began to see her not as someone to pity, but as someone to celebrate. Robert's eyes filled with quiet pride. He had seen potential in Emma when no one else did. His investment wasn't just financial, it was emotional, believing in her capacity to transform her life through hard work and determination. As evening fell, Emma and Jack shared a simple celebration. Homemade hot chocolate, a freshly baked cake, and dreams bigger than their small apartment. The glimmer of hope had become something more substantial, the beginning of real change. Their journey wasn't over. Challenges remained. But for the first time in years, the future looked bright. Not perfect, not guaranteed, but possible. The end 1 year had passed since Emma received her community grant. The small coastal town of Millbrook watched in amazement as her dream transformed from a fragile hope into a thriving reality. Thompson's traditional treats occupied a charming corner space near the town's central marketplace. Soft white walls were decorated with vintage baking tools, and large windows allowed sunlight to dance across carefully arranged pastries. What had once been a dream was now a bustling small business. Jack, now 7, would help after school, wearing a miniature apron and carefully arranging cookies. His math skills had improved dramatically, learning pricing and counting by helping his mother. Robert would often sit in the corner, reading a newspaper and watching their progress with quiet pride. Emma's signature lemon drizzle cake became legendary. Local fishermen, farmers, and office workers would line up each morning not just for the delicious treats, but for the warmth and story behind each baked item. Her pastries told a story of resilience, of hope rebuilt from struggle. The business wasn't just about selling pastries. Emma had created a community space. Local artists displayed their work on the walls. Senior citizens found a comfortable place to gather and chat. Students used the cafe as a study space, enjoying affordable treats and free Wi-Fi. Her night classes in business management had paid off. Emma understood finances, marketing, and customer service in ways she never imagined. possible. What started as survival had become genuine passion. Each recipe was a celebration of her journey. Robert's guidance continued. He helped manage accounts, offered business advice, and became a grandfather figure to Jack. His retirement had found new purpose in supporting their dreams. The community saw their relationship as a beautiful example of unexpected friendship. The Khaten local business association invited Emma to share her story. Standing on the stage, she spoke about single parenthood, financial struggles, and the power of community support. Her speech inspired other struggling entrepreneurs, proving that dreams could become reality with determination. Jack watched his mother with admiration. He understood now that their journey wasn't just about survival, but about creating something meaningful. His school projects often featured stories about his mother's business, filled with pride and love. Financial stability arrived slowly but surely. Medical bills became manageable. Their tiny apartment was replaced by a comfortable small house. Jack could now participate in school activities, no longer worried about extra costs. Mrs. Henderson, who had first supported Emma at the cafe, became a regular customer and mentor. She introduced Emma to wider catering opportunities, helping expand the business beyond the small storefront. The local newspaper did a follow-up story, highlighting Emma's transformation. From a struggling single mother to a successful businesswoman, her journey became an inspiration for the entire community. People saw hope in her story, a reminder that persistence could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Emma never forgot the difficult years, the unpaid bills, the constant worry. The nights of silent tears remained a part of her story, but now those memories served as a source of strength rather than pain. Robert's health began to decline, but his spirit remained strong. Watching Emma and Jack's success became his greatest joy. He had invested more than money. He had invested belief, turning a chance cafe encounter into a family's transformation. During the cafe's first anniversary celebration, the entire town gathered. Local musicians played, children ran around, and pastries were shared freely. Emma looked around, realizing how far they had come. Jack approached her, holding a hand-drawn card. "I'm proud of you, Mommy," he said, his eyes shining with pure love. Those simple words meant more than any business success. As evening settled over Millbrook, Emma understood that her journey was about more than survival. It was about hope, community, and the extraordinary power of believing in oneself. Her story whispered to every struggling heart, "Never give up. Miracles happen when hope meets hard work." The end.